Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari,
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari,
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari,
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hello.
Could you turn on the AC? I think I'm going to be sweating up here. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So today we're going to be reading from the fourth canto, chapter 23, text 12, entitled Maharaj Prithu, Going Back to Godhead. Oh, shoot. That's a Chintamani. Chinaya dira adigatam adgatir nirhas.
Chinaya dira adigatam nirhas.
Tatat yajecha inan aidam vasuneyena.
Tatat yajecha inan vasuneyena.
Tavana yoga gatibir yati apranato.
Tavana yoga gatibir yati apranato.
Yadvad gadagraja kata suratim nakuryat.
Yadvad gadagraja kata suratim nakuryat.
Let's just chant it because I don't want to have everyone be tortured by my pronunciation. So just.
Chinaya dir adigatatma gatir nirihas. Chinaya dir adigatatma gatir nirihas. Tatat yaje chinyari dhamayamena yena. Tatat yaje chinyari dhamayamena yena. Tavana yoga gativir yatira pramato. Tavana yoga gativir yatira pramato. Yavad gadagara shakata shuratu nakuya. Yavad gadagara shakata shuratu nakuya. Chinaya dira gadigata patyaktir nirhas. Chinaya dira gadigata patyaktir nirhas.
It's watering out there.
Tatat yajechi mahadam hayunina yena. Tavana yoga gatigir yatira pramato. Tavana yoga gatigir yatira pramato. Yava gadagara gakata shuratim nakuryat. Yava gadagara gakata shuratim nakuryat. Chinaya dira adigatatma
Anyone else? Okay. Gina. Being separated. Anya, dear. Anya, dear. All other concepts of life. The bodily concept of life. Adhigata. Being firmly convinced. Atmagati. The supreme goal of spiritual life. Niriha. Desireless. Tat. That. Tatyaje. Give up. Achinat. He had cut. Idam. This. Vayunena. With the knowledge. Yena. By which. Tavat. So long. Na. Never. Yoga Gatibi. The practice of the mystic yoga system. Yati. The practitioner. Apramata. Without any illusion. Yavat. So long. Gadagraja. Of Krishna. Katasu. Words. Ratim. Attraction. Na. Never. Kuryat. Do it. Just do it. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. When one becomes completely free from the conception of bodily life, Maharaj Prithu realized Lord Krishna sitting in everyone's heart as a Paramatma. Being thus able to get all instructions from him, he gave up all other practices of yoga and jnana. He was not even interested in the perfection of the yoga and jnana system, for he thoroughly realized that devotional service to Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and that unless the yogis and jnanis become attracted to Krishna Katha, narrations about Krishna, their illusions concerning existence can never be dispelled. Please repeat. When he became completely free from the conception of bodily life, Maharaj Prithu realized Lord Krishna sitting in everyone's heart. As the Paramatma. Being thus able to get all instructions from him, he gave up all other practices of yoga and jnana. He was not even interested in the perfection of yoga and the jnana systems, for he thoroughly realized that devotional service to Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and that unless the yogis and jnanis become attracted to Krishna Katha, narrations about Krishna, their illusions concerning existence can never be dispelled. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As long as one is too much absorbed in the bodily concept of life, he becomes interested in many different processes of self-realization, such as the mystic yoga system, or the system utilizing the speculative empiric methods. However, when one understands that the ultimate goal of life is to approach Krishna, he realizes Krishna within everyone's heart and therefore helps everyone who is interested in Krishna consciousness. Actually, the perfection of life depends on one's inclination to hear about Krishna. It is therefore mentioned in this verse, Yavad kada graraj katasu ratim na kuryat. Unless one becomes interested in Krishna and his pastimes and activities, there is no question of liberation by means of yoga practice or speculative knowledge. Having obtained to the stage of devotion, Maharaj Prithu became uninterested in the process of jnana and yoga and abandoned them. This is a stage of pure devotional life as described by Rupa Goswami. Anabilasita sunyam jnana karmadi avritam anukolena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. Real jnana means knowledge that the living entity is the eternal servant of the Lord. This knowledge is attained after many, many births, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Bahunam janmanam ante jnananam prapadyante. In the Paramatma stage of life, one fully realizes Krishna as everything. Vasudeva sarvamiti sad mahatma sadurlabha. When one understands fully that Krishna is everything and that Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection of life, he becomes a Paramahamsa or Mahatma. Such a Mahatma or Paramahamsa is very rare to find. A Paramahamsa or pure devotee is never attracted by Hatha yoga or speculative knowledge. He is simply interested in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. Sometimes one who was formerly addicted to these practices tries to perform devotional service and the jnana and yoga practices at the same time. But as soon as one comes to the unalloyed stage of devotional service, he is able to give up all other methods of self-realization. In other words, when one firmly realizes Krishna as a supreme goal, he is no longer attracted by mystic yoga practice or the speculative empiric methods of knowledge. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshularam Litanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance with my eyes closed shut. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him and to all the devotees here. So it's nice to see everyone, their face instead of their back side, as I'm usually sitting in the corner. I was thinking there's the top 10 reasons I don't give class, and all of them are bogus. There's like no good thing about it, except one thing that is true is my memory is, I've always had a bad memory and everyone knows this. I kirtan jokes because someone comes around and they say, remember me? And I said, did I kick you out of here? And sometimes they say yes, and sometimes they say no. So, yeah. So anyway, we all have to get out of our comfort zone, and no matter what we're doing, because we can always find a little niche that we can hide in. And so my niche that I hide in is I'm always busy. And so no one ever asks me much, ever says we want to give class because they know I'm too busy. But really there's always time, and it's just a question of a little bit of determination to do it. So, and no time like the present. I was thinking, I just should do it, because if I think about it too much, I'm going to think of more excuses. The 10 reasons will grow to 20. So I just thought, okay, I'm just going to dive in. And, I see these young devotees, they're just here, a year or something, and they're giving class. And when Prabhupada first went to India with the devotees, it was like in, I think, 71 or something. And the oldest devotee was like 2 or 3 years old. And Prabhupada would be on a stage and there'd be like 10,000 people, not 10,000 people. And you're speaking in front of Srila Prabhupada, the Shaktavesh avatar. And Prabhupada would just say, speak to the crowd. And then what devotees couldn't say, well, Prabhupada, I got 10 reasons why I can't give class. No one would say that. They would just immediately do it. And Krishna empowers the devotee. From the instruction comes the power, comes the encouragement and the Shakti to do something. So that's how the movement spread all over the world. These young, sometimes teenagers, would go to foreign countries to preach Krishna consciousness. They wouldn't know anyone. They wouldn't have any money. All they had was the order of their spiritual master, and they would go and spread Krishna consciousness. And their goal was, if we get a temple, Prabhupada will come and visit us. So they would just chant somewhere, try to meet someone, do a little networking, and they'd get a little storefront. Prabhupada would come, and then like that, the movement grew. So what excuse do I have? None. So, all right. So in the purport, Prabhupada talks about the first principle, that we're not these bodies. So at the Sunday feast, one Indian devotee gentleman was visiting from Phoenix, so he had a T-shirt on, "I am spirit soul." So, that's kind of like a catchphrase. I was thinking, maybe we should print some T-shirts like that. But what does it really mean? Are we like parrots that just say, "I'm not my body, I'm not my body"? But actually to realize it, that takes vigyan. Gyan is knowledge. So we have some knowledge, we read the books, we have some knowledge, but this realized knowledge, that's something that's very different. As soon as we meet someone, we size them up. The mind is like a little computer. So within like 2 seconds, we're like, this is a woman, this is a man, this black, native, shabbily dressed, whatever it is, our mind clicks through all these things about the bodily concept. And then after we go through all that, then we think, and by the way, they're spirit soul. They're part and parcel of Krishna. But that's generally not the first thing we think of. But it's stated here that Maharaj Prithu, he actually realized the super soul in everyone's heart. He saw the super soul in everyone's heart. When you go to India, especially for the first time, we're always told you have to see all the inhabitants of Vrindavan like they're the four-armed Vishnu form of Krishna. And not just the people, but the dogs, they're snarling at you, the monkeys that just stole all your fruit, all these, and we have to, try to see that. But it's a little artificial, I got to see them as four-armed Vishnu, these great devotees that have taken birth here, but it doesn't come natural. But it can come natural, by what? By practice. Jadharani was, one of our early painters. And especially the artists got a lot of personal association with Prabhupada, and it was understood that they ever had a question about painting, they could approach Prabhupada at any time. So Jadharani was painting, and she, went to Prabhupada and she said, "Prabhupada, is the super soul, the four-armed Vishnu in the heart, is he standing or is he sitting down?" And then Prabhupada closed his eyes, for 20 seconds. And he opened them up and he goes, "He's sitting down." And then another devotee asked Prabhupada, when one gets a heart operation, does that mean they get a new soul? Because we understand that the super soul is in the heart. So if we get a heart transplant, then we get a new heart. And Prabhupada said no. He said it's just like you change the chair. So the chair is changed, and then you sit back down in the chair, in the different chair. So that's like the super soul doesn't change; it's there with us, but it just moves. It's in the region of the heart. I was thinking about what it takes. There's many different statements in the scripture. Some say, very easy to attain self-realization, just chant, and in other places says it takes a lot of hard work and concentration. So I was thinking right now the Olympics are about to happen. So there's a lot of little things on, Facebook, or you catch something, and they're talking about, what the Olympians have to do in order to reach that perfection. And what's that perfection is to get a little gold medal that's probably not even gold anymore. It probably used to be, but now, you get some nationalism and some fame, but what do they have to do? They have to, I caught just a few seconds of Biles, what's her first name? Simone Biles. And she said that she practices about 40 to 45 hours a week, just flipping and whatever she does. And it takes her like a year to obtain like one special flip that they name after her. Or sometimes you'll see the parents are so invested in their kids that they move to somewhere like to Colorado so they could ski, or they make a whole obstacle course in their backyard so the kids could, get that constant practice. So if that's what they do for one achievement of getting a gold medal or even getting on the Olympic team, what to speak of, the real perfection of life, to go back to the spiritual world and never have to, come back and struggle with everything we struggle for and be dancing with Krishna. How much dedication does that take? How much concentration? It's not just something that we do. Sometimes when we chant, or when I chant, the chanting becomes like background music, like an elevator music. You're going up in the elevator and there's you're always wanting to do something better for them. Not if you're making a meal for someone you love, you don't try to, just open a can and pour it in a cup, in a pot, and heat it up. When you want to really go all out and do something wonderful. So the same way our devotional service should be like that. We should try to do the best we can. And, sometimes we find ourselves, we just sort of like pass with a push. We just sort of slide by, not really doing our best. So, when we realize that by Krishna's mercy, then, we have to like kind of reboot and restart and then fix our consciousness to do better. Beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita 9:14, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drita vrata namaschanta mam Namasyantastamam bhakta nitya yukta upashate. Krishna says, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, that drita vrata, bowing down before me, namaschanta. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So habits become reality. So by just following this verse, always chanting my glories, so that means chanting japa, talking about Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, talking about great devotees, talking about our service, endeavoring with great determination. That's such a key point in Krishna consciousness, because it's so easy to get sidetracked and just get all splayed out and do so many things. But we want to be one-pointed. We want to be determined in whatever we do. Bowing down, we're becoming humble, and that's how we worship Krishna with devotion. In the purport, also Prabhupada's talking about discarding yoga and jnana. So what does that mean? So it mentions hatha yoga. So I also do yoga, not for God realization, but for my sore back. So, the yoga that generally people practice or know about, they know about the asanas, to get some peace and to get some, but really when you look at the eightfold system of yoga, it doesn't start with asana. That's actually later. First, it's the yamas and niyamas. So those are codes of conduct that we have to have. So what are those codes of conduct? So first, it's ahimsa. It's nonviolence. So that means, not upsetting any living entity with harsh talk, with, eating them, with confrontation that is bad, that's, of course, sometimes we have to have confrontation in a sense of, we're trying to enlighten people, but it should be pleasing. Satya, truthfulness. Everyone lies. It just is like second nature for people to lie, change people up, say this and that, bewilder people. So you have to have that. Not stealing. Is that so prevalent that has to be one of the, 5 yamas? Don't steal. There's a story Prabhupada tells that there was a thief. He was trying to reform himself, so he's going on pilgrimage to purify himself. So then, as we know, when you go out on pilgrimage to India, then everyone just kind of camps out and, you go to holy places. So when everyone was sleeping, so that they got up in the morning, the pilgrims, and they couldn't find their stuff. It was all like mixed up and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And they finally found, and the thief said, yes, it was me. He said, I'm a thief. I got that propensity. It's so strong. He said, but I'm trying to curb myself. So instead of stealing, I just mixed everyone's things up. So that propensity is deep. We all think, I'm not a thief. I wouldn't do that. Or I'm truthful, but these are here for a reason. Brahmacharya, celibacy. So, that's one of the prerequisite to even do hatha yoga is to be celibate. And, non-accumulation of things. Everyone has so much stuff. I have so much stuff and I'm trying to be renounced. What to speak of people that don't even want to be renounced, aren't trying to be renounced. How much stuff do they have? You can see even on now it's bushy and bulky week coming up. So everyone throws all their trash on the outside to be hauled away and picked up like we do too. But other things that we need, the latest iPhone, the best car, the best computer, that, we just always want more and more. We have that propensity because we're full of eternity knowledge and bliss that we want the best. We want to excel, but we got it all wrong. We're going after material things instead of spiritual things. So, and also the niyamas, we have to be clean internally and externally. So who's even clean externally? What to speak of internally? Being happy and content. That's such an important yogic principle, not to be hankering and lamenting. Practically every song that's been made in the history of the world is either lamenting that they lost something, usually their honey, or hankering after, getting the next accumulation or getting the next girl or boy or whatever it is, because everyone's, absorbed in these things. Penance. I got to go to the Kumbh Mela once with Bhaktaraj. He's busy doing pranayama over there, by the way. I brought him in for a prop. Now go ahead. Yeah, he's doing some demonstration. And, you hear about these things or you see them on YouTube, but, going to the Kumbh Mela was quite eye-opening to see, yogis. This one yogi was sitting and it's like this, his hand was up like this and his fingernails were growing down and they were almost touching his arm. That's how long his hand is being held up there. And there's another lady yogi that was buried, inside a big hole and, all these like far out stuff. And of course the one with the yogis sitting in the sun, that's one fire, and he's surrounded by 4 fires and he's just meditating. So what is that? It's all for realizing you're not your body. But we can realize that by chanting Hare Krishna, by taking prasadam. We don't have to do these false austerities. But a little bit of penance is always good. So what's our penance? Getting up early in the morning. Actually, for a devotee that's a used to getting up early and chanting and, for the Brahma Muhurta, it's actually suffering to sleep in. We've all caught ourselves, we wake up and it's light outside and we panic and we thought, oh my God, I didn't get up this morning. When am I going to finish my rounds? I got so much to do. I got to worship my deities. I got to cook. I got to, so for a devotee, that austerity is getting up early, is chanting, is being clean. Sometimes it's hard in the morning, especially when it's cold. You take a cold shower, you got to wait too long, or the hot water's gone because you're using a shower that many people are using. Does that sound familiar to anyone? But, we do it because cleanliness is next to godliness. We have to be pure internally and externally. So we have to be pure to cook or to serve the deities or to be with other devotees in close proximity. So these things are all there. Ultimately surrender, ultimately fully devoting oneself, samadhi. So, people aren't really practicing, yoga to that degree. But even if they do, Krishna says, once you realize Krishna consciousness, once you absorb yourself in devotional service, then these other things aren't very significant. Jnana, so that's, knowledge, but that's like speculation. So that's also a type of sense gratification because you just pontificate, you speculate about all kinds of things, but, it really takes surrender to follow the scriptures and the words of the previous acharyas and our guru. Okay, let's see. Also, it talks about, how to reach that stage that Prithu Maharaj is stating. So there's 9 processes of devotional service. So there's, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Vandana, Dasya, Sakya, Atmanivedanam. So those are hearing and chanting about Krishna, remembering Krishna's pastimes, serving the Lord, worship, serving as a friend, serving as a servant, and ultimately offering everything. And we know that Maharaj Ambarish did all those things. So Prabhupada said that you could do one of those things and you can perfect yourself, just like we also understand in the Bhagavatam that different personalities are the personification of these perfections of just one of those. So we're so fortunate we have 9 of those, so we can absorb ourselves in those 9 processes, and any one of them can take us back to the spiritual world. There's a really nice sentence here in the purport. When one understands bhakti yoga as the ultimate goal, Krishna is in everyone, and Krishna is in everyone's heart. They help everyone who is interested in Krishna consciousness. So that's like our formula where we realize, we understand the bhakti yoga. We know what the goal is. Then Krishna is in everyone's heart. Krishna is in the heart of every living entity, and every living entity is servant of Krishna. So then we want to help others. We want to reach out and remind people. My brother he got a football scholarship to college. So in high school, he was playing, of course, and got picked up and went to a Catholic university and played football till he got hurt. But one time he got a concussion playing football. That's like a common thing. And they're worried now that kids getting concussions and doing this at a young age is, messing up their brain. So he got one of these full-on concussions where he didn't remember who he was. So, the cure for it is you have to remind them, your name is such and such, you belong to this family, you're part of this club, you live in this place. And so by that remembering, then one's memory comes back. So similarly, how do we remember? We were once with Krishna in the spiritual world, dancing with Krishna. So how are we going to get back in that consciousness? We have to remind ourselves of the pastimes of Krishna, of the activities of devotional service, through these 9 processes of devotional service. Prabhupada also mentions about the peace formula. So, Bhoktiram Yagatapasya Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Surhidam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatfamam Shantam Richtati. So a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to the ultimate benefactor of sacrifice and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material existence. So Prabhupada said that was the peace formula verse, that when we understand that Krishna is the proprietor, He's the best friend of all living entities, and he's the well-wisher of all of us. If we understand that, if we really imbibe that, then we'll be very peaceful, and we won't strive for some material result for ourselves, but we'll strive for that for Krishna. Then we can be peaceful. Also talks in the purport about mystic yoga. Actually, Kadamba Kanana Swami, before he became a devotee, he was trying for these mystic cities. And he was explaining one time in a class that he had heard from his guru that if you stay awake consistently without any artificial means for 3 days, I mean, we can't even stay awake during class. Haribo. I mean, you think, oh, that's pretty good. Only 3 days and I can have mystic power. I mean, these mystic powers are powerful. I could do that, but it's practically impossible. That's why you have to do it in order to get these mystic powers. And I don't even know if it's true, but he was trying, and he got to like the second day or something. I mean, he's got a lot of determination, but it was so hard to do, practically impossible. So anyway, then he met devotees and he thought, okay, I don't have to do this austerity. But Prabhupada also talks about these mystic powers. He called the power of anima, said he'd become lighter than the lightest, and you could float on water. Or sometimes it's a big thing like walking across coals because you make yourself so light that you just, but he called that a 3 rupee trick. I was like, what? Do all those austerities from so many lifetimes and you walk on water and you call it a 3 rupee trick? Of course, 3 rupees is like less than a penny now. So why did he say that? He goes, because for 3 rupees, you spend so much time developing these mystic powers, but for 3 rupees, you can hire a boat. Not anymore, but hire a boat and cross the river for 3 rupees. So what's the benefit of that? Or one of the other cities is Lagima, mystic power to travel to the sun using solar rays. So you can fly, like many of the demigods and the different, but then, if you get a plane ticket or you're friends with Anika, you can get a free ride on her plane. She came down here a few weeks ago. She flew a little Cessna down here, and Cessna. And so you can get a free ride with her, and you don't have to go through many, many lifetimes of austerity to have these mystic powers. Another mystic power, Isita, the power to create or destroy a planet. I mean, that is, when we read about the different Krishna's pastimes and the different demons that he's fighting with, these are the kind of demons that, they have these mystic power. They can disappear at will. They can, throw a thunderbolt. They can throw a planet. They can do all these things. Vasita, the power by which one can bring anyone under your control, like a hypnotism. And we know that, people have this power, very in small degrees, but we know that it's, possible to get these things. But even if you get these things, they're all lost at the time of death. So even if how much time you're going to dedicate to that, and many, many lifetimes to get these kind of powers. So that same energy that we have, that same short little life we have of 80, 90 years, if we utilize it for understanding Krishna consciousness and perfecting ourselves, we'll be able to go back to Godhead, the ultimate mystic power, the ultimate end of everything. So we don't want to waste our time. And we see, like, when young children, are born in devotee families and from a very early age. I mean, who does not have a smile on their face when they see Megha and Radha come in, all dressed up in their cute little gopi dresses with their tilak, offering the ghee lamp. I mean, doesn't that just warm your heart? I mean, it's so auspicious, that these children get this. And it's not just from this birth, it's from past births that they practice Krishna consciousness. So then they're able to take up devotional service again from a very early age. So, that is our goal. That is our desire. And we want to follow in the footsteps. We're also told that we could pick one of the great personalities from the Bhagavatam and follow in their footsteps, imbibe their mood. So Maharaj Prithu, to imbibe his mood of, even though he had so much, we don't even have much to renounce. Sometimes devotees would come to the movement and they were told they had to offer some dakshina at initiation. So, they'd have like some, rabbit's foot or a, eye of God or, an old pair of jeans or something. And that was all they had, to offer. So we want to, be able to, offer Krishna and Prabhupada our life by preaching Krishna consciousness and being able to spread Krishna consciousness all over. I just got something on my email. I was thinking I'm really going to study this morning. That's when I'm going to study and be really prepared. So then I had to do the plates, and then there's something that came on the GBC thing I had to deal with, and then Mukunda Mala's yelling about I have to get write a paper for him by this morning, and so I didn't get much time. But anyway. We always have so many distractions in our life to take us away from devotional service, whether it's family, whether it's economic considerations, whether it's weakness of heart, that's a big one. But we have to be determined, like Prithu Maharaj, we have to, imbibe his spirit, or any one of the great acharyas or devotees of the Lord, and try to enter into their mood and learn that secret of devotional service, which is an open secret, which is man manababa man pakto majaji mam namaskuru mame bhajasi yuktvaivam atmanama parayanaha. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer obeisances unto me. Thus, being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So it is a little tiny bit early, but that's about all I got to say. So is there any questions or comments? Yes, anyone? Okay.
So you were mentioning what?
He had his back to her. He didn't see that she had her hand up.
She pointed at
Yeah, I
me.
should
Anyway,
call on people. He's got the mic.
I got the mic, so what are you going to do?
He's got power.
So you were mentioning this like athlete, the Olympics. I used to be an athlete in school, and then I did music, and I was like really determined to do that. I think a lot of the time, that I think Krishna consciousness in that analogy, like we get up early. If like all these athletes, they get up really early to do their training, and so also we get up early to do our training. And if you think of it like that, like sadhana. Not, of course, it's this very spiritual thing, but you have that kind of determination to do sadhana, like an Olympic athlete. It really works,
Yeah.
And that analogy really works for me. That you got to be like an Olympian at what you do in terms of your spiritual life.
Mm-hmm.
I find that now I'm doing things that I would never thought I could do when I first, started Krishna consciousness. Things that were impossible at one time have become very easy. So it's inspiring because you understand that if you continue with the determination, Krishna will let you do even greater things. Thank you for your class, though. Very nice.
So you're talking about how after you become a devotee, if you sleep in and you notice the sun's already up, then you start to lament. And I remember having this conversation with Prabhupada Priya that after you become a devotee, one of the things you also start to lament is that the Brahma Muhurta is not long enough. Because it's literally the best time for doing anything. The best time for reading, the best time for writing, the best time for japa, the best time for Mangalarti. And you get a lot of, because you have a lot of focus there. And I remember at one point in Gainesville, we didn't see Kalikanta Prabhu at the first part of the morning program. So during an Istagosti, he had this thing where you can write any question. You don't have to put your name on it. You can ask and I'll answer. So somebody wrote a question and said, how come we never see you at the first part of the morning program? And he said, well, it's because during those hours I'm writing. And he actually got a lot of inspiration in those hours. And that's how, we have the Godhead Dances, Wrath of God, and all the other books. Because he wrote during that time. So it's interesting how your consciousness shifts when you become devotee. You're like, these hours aren't long enough. The rest of the day is mode of passion.
Very nice.
My sister called me at 5 a.m. the other day. And I was like, I have to go. It's 5 o'clock in the morning here. And she said, oh, okay, go back to sleep.
So that's a really good point. Mahatma writes in one of his memoirs or books or pamphlets or something that, we have to be careful because Brahma Muhurta there's so much energy in that time. And, we get so many ideas, that's such a creative time. So he said, if that happens, and just jot it down, don't spend your whole japa time thinking about, plans and ideas and things. Jot it down and then let it go and then keep back to your sadhana.
Okay. You mentioned how everything except devotional service is destroyed at the time of death. It appears that nothing's destroyed at the time of death because now the key word in the question is appears, right? It's not just that Megha and Radha are picking up from a past life, but everybody's picking up from what they were doing. Like Mozart's composing symphonies at the age of 5. What's that? George Harrison mastered the sitar like that because he was picking up. So could you comment on that phenomenon?
Yes, of course. Everything material, you can't take it with you materially. Possessions. I guess, you're right. If you spent so much time on mystic powers in your next life, probably you'll, have something there. But spiritually is what we have to focus on to take with us for our next life. And for devotees, though, we don't want to have a next life outside of Goloka Vrindavan or back to the spiritual world. So, we have to choose our endeavors wisely because at the time of death, we're just reading yam yam or just doing the Bhagavad Gita, yam yam, vapi, smaram, bhavam, whatever we're thinking at the time of death, that state will attain without fail. So all during our life, whatever we're accumulating in our mind, in our house, in our relationships, that will carry us on to our next life. So if we live simply, associate with devotees, honor the principles of Krishna consciousness, then we have our best chance of remembering Krishna at the time of death. Tamal Krishna asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada's one of his main men, and he counted on him a lot. And so therefore he was super busy with doing so many things. And he asked Prabhupada, what if I die when I'm in the middle of some passionate rush to do something for you? Or, then Prabhupada said, Krishna will force himself. I just read this yesterday. He will force himself into your mind at the time of death. So if one's absorbed in Krishna consciousness, then Krishna will take care of us. Prabhupada will take care of us. I know that didn't quite answer your question, but.
Well, I have an answer.
Oh, okay, good.
Everything is destroyed except bhakti because bhakti is never lost. But the other things, they are lost. Even if you pick up with some power or some skill or whatever, that's ultimately just going to lead you to another death.
Yeah.
It's all useless, really. So it just depends on how you use the words.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Okay, Najiba. Question, comment? She's next. Yeah, didn't you have your hand up? Well, now, somehow
That's my question.
So you spoke about the yamas and the niyamas, and I wanted to ask, to what extent do we, incorporate, or do we incorporate, Patanjali's 8 limbs of yoga? Is it something that we just, it's there, or?
No, good question. All these things are already inherent in bhakti yoga. Being clean, being honest, being truthful, not stealing someone's maha prasadam. Actually, that's okay. That's one thing that you're allowed to do. So these things are just naturally part of Krishna consciousness and devotional life. You don't have to separately, okay, now I'm going to study this and practice this, and then I'll get back to Krishna consciousness. But it's just built into the philosophy and lifestyle of Krishna consciousness. Those are very important, to be clean, to be celibate, to be, honor other living entities, all these things. It's very important. But that's that's the entry stage. But people don't realize that they jump to something else without purifying themselves. So the result, isn't going to be very potent if you don't, follow properly. But in Krishna consciousness, it's all taken care of. Like the example is, if you have a lot of $1 and $5 problems, then with $100, all those are taken care of. So once you practice Krishna consciousness and bhakti yoga, all the other yoga systems are actually included in them. So therefore, you don't have to endeavor separately. You can just like if you want to get a lot of things, you go to Walmart because they have everything. Now we won't see Shanta over there anymore, unfortunately, for now. But so, you get everything in one stop. It's a one-stop shop. You can pick up your groceries, you can get something for the dog, you can, get whatever you need, some cleaning products. So similarly, Krishna consciousness, it has everything. It has the yoga, it has the jnana, it has, it covers everything. Yes.
I have a thought that came to mind when you said, our goal is to be able to see the deep spiritual side of everybody we look at, no matter what they look like or no matter who they are. And I made this really strange connection because later you said, there was this person who had this thieving problem and they were kleptomaniac. And they said, well, I'm working on it now. I just rearrange people's stuff. And I was thinking, where is the Krishna deep within these people who are thieves, like this lady who keeps coming to the temple and stealing? Where is that in her? And something dawned on me that just made me go, wow, is that sometimes these people, I'm almost getting chills, these people may come and it seems so evil what they do. And yet I'm thinking of the things I've lost or things that have been stolen from me. And like my photo album and my Native American art and even my car. And I'm going, it teaches me to not be attached to these things. Mm-hmm. So these people who have these nasty, habits, they are here to teach us that the thing that we lost is not so important anyway. That just hit me.
That's a good realization. I mean, especially for a devotee, we see everything that happens as coming from Krishna. So Prabhupada said once when the bombs were going off, I guess was it World War II or was it and then they're like, don't you want to go down to the bomb shelter? He's taking his prasadam. And he said, if a bomb comes, I'll see that's Krishna's. I mean, you're good at these quotes. So we see this. If someone's stealing from Krishna, I mean, there's a pastime in Chaitanya Bhagavatam, that some thieves came and saw beautiful jewelry on Lord Chaitanya and also on Krishna, and they thought, we want to steal. So they pick him up, they, take him, and then Krishna bewildered them, and then he ended up bringing them back to his house, and they ran away. And, so coming in, we, know that coming in contact with Krishna consciousness in any way, Kamsa was liberated by just thinking of him unfavorably, that he wanted to kill him. So any connection with Krishna is good, but we want to keep our fences up and our locks there for those kind of people. Okay, it is time. When just come in.
By the way, thank you so much for giving class. Excellent to see you up there. Hope it's one of many. I was just thinking that we talk about giving the best for Krishna. Of course, we want to give the best for Krishna. And then I was thinking that there's a seriousness of Krishna culture, and that has its place, and being grave. But I was also thinking about like the lightheartedness that we have to have, the like play for Krishna, in the sense of doing new things for him or encouraging people to do new things. We can't get overwhelmed in perfection, and then we'll like never try, like when we did kirtan over with Leela and Michaela, is that the new girl's name? And she was doing kartalas for the first time, and we showed her and she got it pretty much right away. But, I said, do, however you can, and just have fun with it. Krishna is fun, and keep that in mind as we're going towards him,
Great point. Yeah. Because, devotional life is not stagnant. It's not depressing. It's not stoic. It's blissful. It's a blissful activity. And, Krishna has all these qualities. He's a prankster. He's fun. He does so many things. So we're in that mood also.
and keep that encouragement for, because most of us are beginners. We got to help the other newer beginners. Keep that in mind. Hare Krishna.
Okay, please, thank you.